We're back. Welcome to another edition of Upon Further Review, the first playoff edition of 2019. I am Butler Eagle sports writer Derek Pida. On my left is Butler Eagle sports writer Mike Kilroy. And on my right is Eagle sports editor John Henrietta. Before we get into the meat of the show, we would like to acknowledge our sponsors, the big four that allow us to do what we do, and they would be Troy Allen, Chevrolet Buick GMC, Conlon Tarker, Butler Health System, and Penn United Technologies. Last week of the regular season, last Friday, guys. Some teams played their last game of the season. Other teams were just trying to tune up for the playoffs, while in one case, the team actually qualified for the playoffs with a win. John, what stuck out for you about week 9?
What stuck out to me is that the game that Mike covered, a Freeport Knock game. I had it over under that game. If you guys recall last week's show, 35, and I had it under, and this turned out to be an offensive shootout that I was not expecting. 34-31 Freeport victory, and Mike, I'm sure you saw an entertaining game.
That was one of the better games I've covered in the 19, 20 years I've been here at Eagle. It's going to be one of those I remember. It's definitely in the top 10 of games that I'll remember, just because of how well both teams played, really with nothing. Technically, Knock didn't really have, it didn't matter if they won or lost this game. Their fate was out of their hands, but they played like this was a playoff game. Freeport played like this was a playoff game. They played like this was their Super Bowl, both teams, and the results showed how good the game was and how hard these two teams played and how gutty these two teams played. Ricky Hunter had a great game. He ended up finishing second in our scoring trophy race after he was short a game too.
Played one less game.
Yeah, well, that game stood out to me as well as the Coin City Titusville game. That's the game that I covered. Coin City won 35-13 over Titusville, but it was 35-0 at halftime, and I was impressed with how Coin City dominated that first half. They didn't really have to have anywhere close to the same intensity in the second half, but they ran, I think, for almost 300 yards in the first half alone, and they really look playoff primed right now. The Gremlins do.
Well, I covered Seneca Valley last week, and I don't know how far they're going to go to the playoffs. We'll see. They play Mount Lebanon on Friday, but on senior night, for a senior to rush for 232 yards, Matt Stanger, boy, what a performance! He actually entered that game rushing in Seneca Valley's first 9 games. He rushed for 239 yards combined. He almost matched that in one game.
He came out of nowhere. Yep.
Yeah, he's a tough runner. He was in because Ethan West was hurt. We'll have to see if he's back this week.
You know what? You saw Seneca Valley play a lot of times this year, Derek. What was the difference in Matt Stanger's game Friday compared to previous games?
Matt's he doesn't have many moves. He's a very downhill runner. When he gets a full head of steam, he's going one direction. And he just went up against it. Last year it was against Woodland Hills. Woodland Hills was the game last year. He had, I think it was 126 yards rushing. This year it was a game against Norwin last week where they've had trouble stopping the run all year, and their coach Dave Brzezinski told me that. They went up against a physical line and a physical runner, and Matt Stanger was able to reap the benefits. 232 yards. The school record at Seneca for yards rushing in a game is 306 by Forrest Barnes, but I got to believe 232 is probably, it has to be top 4.
Oh, it's got to be up there. Yeah.
But some of our teams are now done. We have 6 that have made the playoffs. We'll get into the picks later. We're going to get into our topics of discussion. And the first one, this is a little bit off the wall, but people always talk about home field advantage and how important it is. Some people downplay it. I want you guys to rank home field advantage in football at the high school level, the college level, and the NFL level. John, you go first. Which one does it mean the most all the way down to the least?
For me, this question to me is really a slam dunk. I think it means the most in college, second most in the NFL, third most in high school. And the reason I say that is college football is the first level of football where these kids are playing in front of huge crowds. I mean, high school football, a big crowd in high school football is 10, maybe 12,000 people. You see Penn State over 100,000, Michigan over 100,000. You see most places well over 50,000. So, and I think that's why in college football you see a lot of the big rivalries. are played on neutral fields for that reason, because home field advantage is too much. I'll give you an example. The Michigan, just this last Saturday, Michigan Notre Dame played up in a big house where Michigan throttled Notre Dame. If that exact same game between those exact same two teams is played in South Bend, I'd be willing to bet that the outcome is totally different. I think home field in college football is huge. Then I think it's second biggest in the NFL. Players are used to it. I don't think it affects the players from an atmosphere point of view, but I do think it affects them from a noise point of view. And I think that's why I think an NFL is a little bit different. And there is definitely a home field advantage in pro football. High school, to me, not as much, because, like I said, the crowd's going to be so noisy. There's not that many people there. High school stadiums are all fairly similar. There's I guess there's some mystique to a few places. The Pit now Equipment comes to mind. Maybe the Wolverine at Woodland Hills might be another one.
Martorelli Stadium.
Yeah. Martorelli Stadium at North Hills might be another one. But in most places, the better team's going to win in high school, no matter where the game's played.
Mike, your take?
Yeah, everything John said.
Okay.
There you go.
No, John hit the nail on the head. It's college, NFL, and then high school. In high school, if you're a superior team, it doesn't matter where you play the game. You're probably gonna win. Home field doesn't really matter that much in high school. Even when the teams are pretty similar, I don't think it matters that much. I think it does matter a little bit at the high school level when you do have two equal teams playing, but I don't think it matters to the extent it does in both college and NFL. College, by far, the home field advantage is huge, absolutely huge in college. Just for the reasons that John said, you try going into the big house and playing, no matter how good or bad Michigan is, no matter how good or bad you are, it's going to be a tough game. Same thing going into Penn State, going into Happy Valley. Same thing going into Clemson or Auburn or all these. Even USC has a home field advantage in the Coliseum, which isn't exactly the most fan-friendly venue, but it's the history.
It's
there.
like 90 years old.
Yeah, it's the history there. NFL, it matters for two reasons: weather and noise. No warm weather team or dome team wants to go to Buffalo, 50-mile-an-hour winds in November and December.
Yeah, weather's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You see this through the course of history, where dome teams always have trouble going on the road and playing outside. And another home field advantage is East Coast teams going to the West Coast, West Coast teams going to the East Coast. The time difference sometimes, that's where the home field advantage lies in the NFL. It does matter, because if it didn't, these teams wouldn't be trying to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs if it didn't matter. So, but college is by far, really all levels of college, home field advantage is huge. I think as you go down from Division I to Division II to Division III, it lessens a little bit, but it's still, Division III college football home field advantage is still more important than high school.
I'm actually going to take a little bit of a different take here. I'm going to go. I'm going to NFL 1, and here's my reason for that. In college, I'm not saying home field advantage doesn't matter in college, but the talent gap between one team, it can be very wide. You get a team like Indiana playing Ohio State.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether.
Whereas in the NFL, you could take the worst team in the NFL, and I think the Steelers probably played one last night in the Dolphins. You can have the worst team. They're still all professionals, and the gap between the worst team in college and the best team in college is so much greater than in the NFL. And I know this is going back a ways. It's one game that sticks out for me, though. 2004, the Patriots went down to Miami on a Monday night. Patriots ended that season 14-2, and one of their losses was in Miami on a Monday night to a 2-14 team. If that game's played in New England, I can't believe the Patriots lose that game.
You can even look at last night. If the Dolphins are up 14-0 on the Steelers at home, the Steelers come back. I think they still do, because Miami's bad, but I think it would have been a little bit harder for them to do that.
But we all have high school at the bottom, right?
We do. Yeah, Derek. This is America, and if you want to be wrong, you have every right to be wrong.
I'll say this. You hear NFL teams say all the time, "Sweep your home games."
Yeah.
And
no question.
You never hear a college team say that. Ohio State's not going to say split our road.
But Ohio State probably plays 8 home games too, man. Probably 3 or 4 games.
But if they split road games, they're still with 2 losses, and they're not going to the national championship tournament. Now it's a tournament. Our next topic of discussion is, we'll bring it back to the high school. We'll bring the attention back to the high school game now. Balanced offenses are obviously the best. If you can run the ball and throw the ball, you have the best chance to win. But there are teams out there that have to settle because of their personnel, either on a really good passing game or a really good running game. Mike, which one would you rather have? Which one do you think gives yourself the best chance to win?
In this pass-happy era, everyone is trickling down. NFL's pass-happy, college's pass-happy with the air raid offenses. High school's starting to get pass-happy. But you ask any coach, how do you win games? You run the ball and you stop the run. Running the ball is always going to be important in football. I think it's still important. I would prefer to be able to run the ball. You control clock. There's nothing more demoralizing to a defense than them knowing that you're going to run the ball and you're still able to do it. I think defenses are affected more by 10-play 80-yard drives or 15-play 80-yard drives than they are by giving up the big play, because they're physically getting beat every play, every down. You're getting 4 yards, 5 yards, your 15-yard run. I think running the ball is still, and it will always be, the most important thing that you can do. Like you said, balance is important. You have to keep them honest, but running the ball in high school football is always going to be the number one thing you want to do.
John, do you agree with Mike?
Well, I'll say this: having a child must have cleared Mike's brain, because I actually agree with him. I actually agree with Mike on this point. But and for everything he said, and I'll add another reason in there. You get into the season in high school football, well, any level football.
The
weather can screw a passing game. I mean, if you have a bad rain game,
high school.
If you have a windy day, that affects pass game. Running the football, especially at the high school level, is the safest way to move the ball. It's the most consistent way. It's the way that's least prone to error. I would take a consistent running game over a strong passing game any day at the high school level.
When I came up with this question, I thought of Eric Kasparovich, the head coach now at Pine Richland. And when they played Seneca a few weeks ago, he said they actually moved to a pass-happy offense this year because they had a very inexperienced line. And he said that pass protection is a lot easier than run blocking. In special cases like that, obviously, I can see why a coach would want to go, if he has the personnel, and they got Cole Spencer, who's a really good passer, why they would switch to the the pass-heavy offense. But as you guys said, especially you get this time of the year, there's a lot of bad weather, a lot of cold nights that games are going to be played on, and I think you give yourself the best chance to win. If you have to choose between the two, I would choose a really good ground attack.
Yeah,
Pine Richland has Luke Meckler sitting in their backfield too, just in case they do get a bad weather game. They can stick the ball in his belly and watch him go.
Yeah, you have seen teams go more pass for situations like that. Maybe they have a really good quarterback, some good receivers, fast guys. Maybe they don't have the line that can push the pile, and then maybe you go with something like that. But I think, again, if you ask 10 coaches, all 10 of them will say, I would rather have a dominating running game than a dominating passing attack.
Plus, and in football in general, we've talked about this on this show in past weeks. Football in general has gone pass happy. I mean, it really has.
Yeah, it has.
But you get into mid-late November, and it's cold out there on a Friday night, and the wind's blowing, and maybe there's a little bit of precip. You better be able to run the ball. That's like you better be able to run the ball. That's all I'm saying.
Is that all you're saying?
That's all I'm saying.
We agree with you, John. Okay.
We're going to go. Yeah, we all agreed on that one. That's not.
It's kind of boring when we all agree. It's kind of boring.
Throw the ball 80 times a game. Running balls for wussies.
See if we agree on this one. We're going to do two over-unders here, and they're both going to deal with playoff games being held Friday. The first one is Seneca Valley in a rematch against Mount Lebanon at Mount Lebanon. I covered the first game this year back in September. Seneca Valley's defense gave up 36 yards of offense in the first half. They looked great. They were up 14-0. Second half comes along, and Mount Lebanon came out and put up 233 yards on that same defense, and they ended up winning the game, beating the Raiders 26-20. I kind of struggled with a good over-under. I'm trying to pick one that's kind of like right in the middle where you don't know exactly which way to go. John, I chose 275.5 yards. Do you see Seneca Valley giving up more or less than that on Friday?
Seneca's defense, they would this time around, playing them a second time, they would just on defense. I don't think they'll have that bad second half that they had last week or last time they played Mount Lebanon. So I'm going under. I think the Seneca defense limits Mount Lebanon down under 275.5.
Mike, what say you?
I think they're going to go a little bit over, because if you look at this, it's like a different team showed up the second half. It's like two different teams played this game.
Yeah.
The first half team gave up 36 yards. The second half team gave up 233. That's not going to happen again. But I think Mount Lebanon is going to be more balanced throughout the game, and they're going to consistently move the ball. I think they're going to go a little bit over. Okay. And it's going to be reflected in my pick.
Everybody's entitled to be wrong.
It's going to be a close game, but I think Mount Lebanon is going to move the ball consistently against Seneca, more consistently than they did in the first meeting.
I'll say that I don't think Seneca Valley is going to have either extreme in this case. They're not going to have a half where they only give up 36 yards.
Right.
They're not going to have another half where they give up over 200 yards. But I think they're going to be more even keel, but. This is not my pick. Reserve my pick for later. I think Mount Lebanon gets under 275.5 yards, but not by much. I can see Mount Lebanon getting 260, 270.
Yeah, I see them going over, but again, not by much.
Oh yeah, I think they'll go over.
Yeah, around 300.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I think they'll go over 200, maybe even 225. I don't think they'll get to 275.
All right, so I agree with John. Oh good.
Good luck to you now.
It's tough being wrong, isn't it, guys?
We'll see.
Well, I've said under on the Freeport knock game of 35, and one team almost scored that many, so
good.
You went over. So.
Oh yeah. We gotta mention. I forgot to mention how Scoop did last week.
Yeah, how that is good, and for that matter, how we did last week.
We'll take a break from the over-unders here. We'll get back to that in a minute. Scoop and you guys went 7-2.
That's acceptable.
I went 8-1.
That's
so you're actually leading the pack now. What's your record now? 78-25.
Okay.
Derek and I are 77-26.
And Scoop's 76-27.
Still pulling up the rear.
Boy, it's still open. It's still open.
He's lost twice as many games as he did last year.
He stinks. He's only one game in behind us, so.
So we stink.
So we're going into our own version of the playoffs here. John decided who's going to win this.
Yeah.
We're running out of games.
Yeah, I know.
Another game being held Friday is Mars at Peters Township. Quarterback Quinn Fuller. At the start of the season, he was just a name on the roster, and here he's emerged as the starting quarterback for the Planets, a sophomore. He throws a pretty decent ball, but all season he's only thrown 52 passes. Now, Mars is the underdog in this game.
Yep.
Peters Township's a really good team.
Yep.
Does Quinn Fuller attempt less or more than 13 passes in this game? I'll go to Mike first.
First, before I do, I have to say hi to my wife. She's watching now. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Emma.
Hey, Dawn.
Guys. Okay, now with that out of the way, that looked kind of weird.
You never blow me a kiss.
I don't love you.
Hopefully you never will.
I don't love you like I love my wife and my daughter, but hey, I like you like that.
No love at this table.
The question is Quinn Fuller going to throw more than, 13 and a half passes this week?
Less or more, yeah.
I think he's going to throw more. I think he's going to have to throw more to beat Peters Township this week. And I think he completes a few, and I think Mars pulls it up, so we'll get to the picks later. But I think he goes over. I think he throws about 15 passes, and I think he completes a few. I think that passing game started to show some signs of life this past couple games, and I think that's going to be key for Mars going to the playoffs because it's Teddy Ruffner all the time. Now maybe teams are going to have to look at it and say, well, we're going to have to respect the pass a little bit, and that's going to open up more room for Teddy Ruffner, and then they're going to come up to stop him, and it's going to be a pretty good dynamic, I think, for Mars going forward.
Don't tell me you agree with Mike.
Don't just kissed you, Derek.
I kind of have to tell you that. So yes, I agree with Mike Stowe again. I think for this simple reason that Peters Township's defense is too good. I mean, they only give up 8 points a game. No one's moving the ball on them. This is not the kind of defense where you can just pound, even with the Teddy Ruffner, even with that Mars line. They need to mix it up. I think Scott Heiner is smart enough to know that. And I think by design, they will throw more than 13 and a half passes in this game.
Well, here's another but. I agree with both of you guys. I should have come up with a better. I should have put it like 28 passes.
13 and a half is pretty good because
I'm stupid.
It's good for Mars.
If you look at the numbers this year, he's only thrown 52 in 9 games.
Well, he's been a starter for the last 4 weeks, so
that's true. That's true.
But I agree. I don't think they're going to be behind much for most of the game. Maybe 14 points, but you gotta be able, like Mike said, you gotta be able to mix it up. They're gonna throw 8 guys in the box. You know that.
Absolutely.
They're gonna try to stop Teddy Ruffner,
yep.
And to kind of loosen that defense up, they're gonna have to throw a few more passes than they're used to. So we'll see how Quinn and the Planets do at Peters Township on Friday. All right, on to the picks. right? Yeah.
On his picks.
Okay.
Picks.
All right, it's just abbreviated. We only have 5 games this week. We do want to mention that Union AC Valley obviously has made the playoffs, but they get a bye. They won't be playing until next Friday. We'll talk a lot about the Falcon Knights next week. Right, John? You're coming up with the agenda show next week.
I thought it was Mike.
Oh, it's Mike's turn.
turn.
Oh,
I'll come up
okay.
with it.
Well, yeah, we'll just spend the whole show talking about Union AC Valley.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully we'll have some other teams to talk about.
All right. We'll see.
I don't know. I'm on their bandwagon. I might gear all the stuff to Union AC Valley because I mean,
Should bring Brad
they're having a great year.
Yeah.
Seneca Valley at Mount Lebanon, and in a twist, all games in the Whitfield are starting at 7 o'clock as opposed
Yes,
to
they
7:30.
are.
How about
They are.
that?
Yes,
I
they
know
are.
that. That's awesome.
I kind of like that.
That's
actually.
good. So Seneca Valley at
That's
Mount
a break.
Lebanon. Mount Lebanon usually plays all their home games at 7:30. It's switched to a 7 o'clock start because it's a playoff game. John, do the Raiders make a run, or do they at least win one playoff game like they did last year?
The Raiders will pull off a mild upset in this
right.
game, and they will defeat Mount Lebanon. I have the Seneca Valley winning 17-13. Defensive game, it goes back to your over-under. That's why I think Mount Lebanon will be under 275. I don't know if Seneca Valley is going to be up around that number either. I do think Seneca will make enough plays in the passing game. They'll pull off an upset, so I'm picking the Raiders to win on the road at 17-13.
Hey, we saw Seneca Valley last year go on a revenge tour, beat teams that beat them during the regular season, and this is another example of something that they've done in the past, something they can do, but I don't think it's something that they will do. Like I said earlier, I think Mount Lebanon's going to move the ball consistently, a lot more consistently than they did last year because last time they played, because they're not going to be held to 36 yards in the first half again. So I see. I'm going to pick a score that's going to hurt the Seneca Valley, 26-20, Mount Lebanon again.
Oh, again.
Yeah.
Well,
It's going to be a close
Lebanon
game
here.
again, and it's going to come down to the wire. But I think Mount Lebanon's going to pull this one out.
I do, as I said before, I think Seneca Valley's defense is going to play a more even game. They're going to give up less than the 275 yards that I put on the over-under. But I'm not picking them to win this game for one reason. They have one win this year against the playoff team, and that's Canon-Mac, who's the very bottom seed in the playoffs. Their other 3 wins are against Norwin, Hempfield, and Butler, 3 non-playoff teams. I don't have confidence that they can go in there and pull it. They're going to play well in defense. They'll make some plays on offense. Do they get Ethan West back? That's another big question. I have not talked to Butchley yet, Coach Ron Butch. I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to assume he's going to play. I don't know any inside information, but I saw him on the sidelines last week. He was walking around in street clothes, and he had the injury he had was a leg injury, and he was not on crutches. He was walking around, so I'm going to assume that he plays this week. I got Mount Lebo winning, though, 24-17 in a close game.
Yeah, actually, another point in your guys' favor is Mount Lebanon's 4 losses are 4 powerhouses. They lost to Gateway to start the season, and then of course they lost to the 3 powers in the Quad County Conference, North Allegheny.
So you want to change your pick?
Tigers, and
Yeah.
such. No, I don't want to change my pick. And the reason I don't was that they're 6-0 against other teams, but the Seneca game was a toss-up game where Seneca, as we talked about, just had a very poor second half. I don't think that's going to happen again, and I think Mount Lebanon's due to lose one of these close games. Seneca's due to win one of these close games, and I think it's going to.
But we don't think they're going to have a poor first half, Mount Lebanon. So
They may
I'm
not.
gonna
They may not.
cancel it out.
But I don't think they have a great first half either.
I'm getting dizzy.
Okay.
Slow down.
All right,
Okay.
continue.
Simmer down now.
Mars at Peters Township. After that win over North Hills a few weeks ago, I think I mentioned this in a previous story I recently did on Mars. They were, on track. The road was paved for them to get, top 5 or 6 seed, and they ended up losing back-to-back games to Fox Chapel and Kiski. And here they are. They have to hit the road against a really, really tough Peters Township team. Peters Township's 9-1. Their only losses against Moon, which also beat Mars earlier this year. John, do you see the Planets pulling off this upset?
I don't. I think it's too much to ask of the Planets to get down and beat this team. As we mentioned, Peters Township's defense has only given up 8.7 points per game. And if you just look at their last 3 games, they beat Shar Valley 43-14, Bethel Park 30-7, Baldwin 38-0. This team's rolling, and I don't think Mars has enough to derail them off the track. So I'm picking Peters Township to win this game 27-10.
Right.
There's limbs and then there's limbs. I'm going on a big limb. I'm picking Mars in this game.
Ooh.
I just have a feeling. Every now and then I get a feeling that a team is right for an upset. I think Peters Township's right for an upset. And I get a feeling that a team's going to go into the playoffs with nothing to lose, like Mars. You know, they thought they're going to be in a much better situation than they're in. They're not. They have talent too, and I think this passing game that showed some life here, I think that's going to be a key to this game. I think they're going to hit some passes in this game, loosen up that Peters Township defense, and then they're going to ride Teddy Ruffner. It's going to be a close game.
The Teddy train.
The Teddy train.
Okay.
I think this is going to be one of those eye-opening. There's always a few in the Whitfield playoffs. There's always a couple teams that go in and surprise people. I think Mars is going to be the team this year. I think their defense, getting lost in this is Mars' defense is pretty solid. Now they haven't showed it every game this year. They've given up some points at times, but I still think this unit as a whole, if they play the way they're capable, are capable of slowing down a team like Peters Township. So I just think Mars is going to win 21-19.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
that's my.
Okay.
This is
Here's
one
your upset special.
This is one of my.
I think that limb
this
already
is go
broke.
way out.
Limb already
have a
broke.
feeling,
The limb snapped
Hey,
already.
you remember last year Mars was involved in an upset in the first round.
Yeah,
Woodland Hills beat
they were on the
them.
wrong side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so they would love to be on the winning side
Oh, sure
of,
they would.
of an upset this
Sure.
year. I just don't
It's just
see
a
it
feeling.
happening.
It's just a gut feeling. I mean, there's no.
It's
real,
gas. It's called gas.
I talked to Emma about that.
I like Peters Township to win this game 36-14. I like Mars to keep it close for most of the game. I think Peters Township pulls away at the end 36-14 Indians.
So Mike's calling for a slobber knocker. That's a
Calling
slobber
for
knocker.
a slobber
That's a slobber
knocker. You guys
score.
are calling for blowouts. I'm calling for Mars win.
South Park coming to J.C. Stonefield to face the North Catholic Trojans. This would be another upset if South Park can pull this off. John, will they?
They will not. North Catholic just has too much for the South Park team. The South Park's coming in. They're 4-5. They're averaging 18 a game. They're giving up about 27 a game. That's not a good sign when you're giving up that many points against an offense like North Catholic. Zach Rocco hit the career passing milestone of last week, 6,000 yards for his career. He's going to keep going. North Catholic rolls 35-13.
Mike?
Yeah, North Catholic, we've been kind of joking about them all year about how inconsistent they've been. They've been getting a little bit more consistent here later. Although they had a little tussle last week early on against Deer Lakes.
They were down 14-7.
Yeah, and then it was 14-14, I believe, at the half before they pulled away. This game could go kind of a similar way. Maybe they start out slow. It's kind of a close game, but then they're going to pull away. I think North Catholic wins this game 38-17.
South Park, there's two AAA conferences in the Woodville. There's the Big East, which is what Freeport and North Catholic compete in, and the other conference is the Aliquippa, Beaver Falls, Central Valley Conference. Those are the other three teams from South Park's conference that made the playoffs, and they're all really strong. Central Valley is now ranked first in the state, by the way. I looked at South Park's results against those teams, and I know that might be like a tough barometer, but I wanted to see if they were able to keep any of those games close, and they were not. They got blown out against Beaver Falls, Aliquippa, and Central Valley. So I know North Catholic's execution has been up and down this year. They only have one loss, but their execution's been up and down. I don't think they're going to have much of a problem with South Park on Friday, though. I see North Catholic winning 33-12 rather easily.
That's a good point on South Park. If you lose to high quality opponents, but you give them a fight and battle and lose a close game, that's one thing. If you get blown out by them, which South Park has, that's really not. It's really not saying a whole lot for what South Park has to offer against a team like North Catholic.
Well put, John. Karn City at Keystone. This is a tough game to pick for me
Some
because
sarcasm. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I agree with you.
Okay, all right.
This Karn City Keystone game is very tough for me to pick because exactly how good is Keystone? They got one loss. They're a Double-A team, but they played their entire season in the small school division, Union AC Valley's division in District 9. So how good are they compared to Double-A competition? They did play Montauk last week, but as far as Double-A playoff competition, how good are they going to be? I really struggled with this game, but of course I give my pick last. I'll go with you guys first. What do you think? Karn City pulled this one out. They're on the road at Keystone.
They're going to win. Karn City's going to win. Keystone's good, but like you said, how good are they? We don't know because they really haven't played a similar schedule as a Karn City and some of these other AA teams. I just don't think they're going to be able to match up with Karn City for 48 minutes. Karn City has shown here, especially lately, they've been playing pretty well. How dynamic they are. They have a number of weapons on offense. Anthony Kaminsky's having a under the radar great year running the ball for Karn City. He's a tough runner. Hunter Rose a tough runner. Gehring's a tough runner. They have a bunch of hard-nosed kids there. I think Keystone's going to run into a buzzsaw. I think Karn City's going to win. They're going to win handily, 42-21.
Wow, John, you picking a blowout?
No, I'm not picking a blowout by any stretch. Keystone, granted, the competition maybe doesn't match Karn City's schedule, but Keystone has not been held below 44 points in 5 straight games now. They've been rolling, granted, against smaller schools than themselves. It's also their first winning season since 2007. And, they've gone 12 years without even having a winning season. So I think this is a different game for Keystone in that respect, because now you're talking playoffs, which is something that program just has not seen. And they also haven't seen a win over Karn City since, believe it or not, 1995 is the last time Keystone beat Karn City.
Get out of here.
And they played annually.
You believe this guy?
And they played annually.
He's a liar.
Through 2017. So Karn City's beaten them 22 straight times.
Wow.
It's going to be 23, but it's going to be close. In fact, almost Slobodnauer type game. 28-21, Gremlins win.
Oh,
No,
look at this. You stole my score. I mean, we agree on the pick, but don't steal my score, John.
Sorry.
Come on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Keystone is, for all intents and purposes, Keystone is a single A team. They're the smallest AA team in probably the state, I would imagine, if not pretty close.
Well, Union AC's. Oh, you're talking double A. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
I'm talking double A.
Does that mean they're not good though? I mean,
They're not Karn City good.
Maybe not. They've run for over. Here's another interesting stat.
Look who they've played. They haven't played the same
I
teams
agree.
that Karn City's played.
I understand
If
that.
Karn City
I
played
understand.
Keystone's schedule, they'd be rolling up 60 points a game. That's all I'm saying. Karn City would just obliterate all those teams. And Keystone didn't obliterate all of them. That's why I'm picking. I think it might even be more than a 21-point spread. I'm just kind of being conservative. I think Karn City is gonna roll in this game.
Am I going to get a chance to talk about this?
Yes.
game?
Talk. Chat away.
Sorry.
I
I just disagree with the
I got
point
you.
spread.
I got you. Well, I'm going to agree with John here. I like Karn City's ground game. They got a tough defense. I think it's going to be just a little bit too much for Keystone to handle. Keystone's entering the game with a 9-1 record. I know it's really good. I think it's going to be a good game, but I think that defense and that running game for Karn City is going to be the difference. 28-21, just like this guy picked.
Here's the interesting stat though from Karn City before we go on to the next pick here. Caden Shear, the wide receiver, everyone talks about Karn City's running game, and which is fantastic. Karn City has rushed for over 3,000 yards and 60 touchdowns this year. But Caden Shear, he only has 9 catches, but 5 of those are for touchdowns. And he's averaging 36 yards per catch. I can see Caden Shear making a big play in the passing game in this game.
I think he
9 catches.
9 catches all year, 5 for touchdowns.
I think there's going to be a bunch of guys making big plays for Karn City in this game.
You will be right. You will be right.
Last game that we will pick will also be the last game of the weekend. It is District 10, AAA? AAA. Slippery Rock, headed to Erie, Veterans Stadium. I love that place. Fred Berlin.
It is a great place.
Headed to Erie to play Harbor Creek on Saturday night. Saturday night special. Larry Wonderuse has been there. This is his 4th year. He has engineered some upsets in the playoffs the last few years. Do they get one here against the Huskies?
Yeah, 3 straight years Slippery Rock's been in this situation where they've had to be the underdog going into this first round playoff game. Mercyhurst Prep, they beat them 28-0. Then the last 2 years they played Harbor Creek, who's won the region 2 years in a row, and they beat them. But this is a little bit of a different Harbor Creek team. This Harbor Creek team is, I don't think they're going to pull it off for a 3rd straight year against Harbor Creek. I would not. I'll preface this with this: I would not be surprised if Slippery Rock won this game because I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. But I think this is a year Harbor Creek kind of gets that monkey off their back, Slippery Rock beating them in the playoffs. I think it's going to be a really tight game. I think it's going to come down to mistakes, and unfortunately Slippery Rock has shown a penchant for making inopportune mistakes this year. Now, they've had a week off to clean it up, but Harbor Creek's also had a week off to prepare for this game. So I think Harbor Creek's going to win a slobber knocker, John. Slobber knocker.
All right.
25-21 Harbor Creek.
John, are you going out on a limb and picking the Rockets?
No,
That wouldn't be much of a limb. It's kind of like a...
It's going to have to be a pretty strong man to hold me, but...
You're losing weight.
But I'm good. That's true. I am. But no, I think the difference in this Harbor Creek team is defense. 6 shutouts in 9 games. They've only given up 32 points the entire season. 19 of those were in that one game, and a 54-19 win over Northeast. But I do agree. Slippery Rock, they will give them a fight. I mean, it's not going to be a blowout. They're going to give them a fight. But I'm picking Harbor Creek to outlast Slippery Rock, 28-14.
Okay. I'd love to pick Slippery Rock here, but as Mike said, they've beaten Harbor Creek 2 straight years in the playoffs.
This is a different Harbor Creek.
A lot of players from those teams are back. They know the history of this series recently, at least, and as you said, John, they're really good on defense. The Huskies are, and the last I saw, Harbor Creek was just outside of the top 10 ranked in the state. I think they're 11th or 12th. So they're obviously a heavy hitter, and I think Slippery Rock comes back down 79. Disappointed, but they play well. They keep the game close and lose 23-16. All right. We would like to also invite you to enjoy our extended football coverage in the Sunday Butler Eagle, as well as on the Butler Facebook page.
Yeah, we have 4 playoff games scheduled for this Friday night. All 4 will be fully covered. All 4 we've got pictures from all 4 games. So, yeah, definitely, check out Sunday's edition.
Thank you. All right, now this how about section, it's a little bit off the wall, but I noticed this last weekend, and I wanted to get your guys' take on it. I tracked down Knox tennis result from this past weekend. They played Sewickley Academy in the state team championship out in Hershey, and Sewickley Academy, I gotta set for you that are not informed on high school tennis, it's basically a best of 5. You have 3 singles matches, 2 doubles matches, and the team that wins 3, they win. They win.
Correct.
Now during the regular season, you can be up 3-0, 4-0. They still play the last couple matches, even if you've already clinched that team victory. In this case, Sewickley Academy won the first 3 matches, and they just stopped playing.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
And this wasn't just the Sewickley Academy knock match. This is the way the whole state tournament worked. Once a team got to 3 wins to clinch the team victory, they just
match it over.
Match was over. I wanted to get you guys' take on this, John.
I already said my take. It's preposterous.
Would you? Okay, so what's for the John? Do you agree with them just completely pushing the rest of the matches aside once the one team clinches the team victory, or are you okay with the format being that way?
I'm fine with this format. The reason being, it's not regular season. Regular season is a little bit different because everyone needs to get their matches in. It's regular season. You're playing to continue on. You're playing toward getting a postseason berth. So everyone's got to get their matches in just to play. You got to play. But once you get into this point, it's survival of the fittest. Now you're playing as a team to try to advance. Once a match is clinched, where the other team literally it's impossible for them to come back, the match is over. It's over. I mean, I can see him playing it out. I wouldn't have a problem with that way either. But I can't honestly sit here and say I have a problem with this format. Not once you get into the postseason tournaments.
Mike, something tells me you disagree.
I disagree with that. You're depriving these kids a chance to play in a state championship match. So who cares if it's decided already? You're depriving these kids.
What are they playing for? It's over. It's over.
They're just.
But what are they playing for?
You're the one that always says, "Well, let them play. Let all these kids get their experience." Now you're saying
that's
no.
a junior varsity. That's young. No, Mike. That's a totally different situation. That's totally different.
What's the harm in letting them play? What's the harm?
No, I said I have no problem with it either way. But I'm saying is, but I can't honestly say I have a problem with this. I mean, I wouldn't object to it being the other way either. Really, I really don't have a strong feeling either way. But I can't really object to.
You're robbing two either a doubles team or two singles players or two doubles teams from participating in a state championship game or a state championship match. That's what you're doing.
How dare you, John?
And what would be
for no good reason?
And what would be? But the player, the match is over with. It's over.
John, here, let me ask you something. Let's switch.
I'll tell you what. Let everyone else get on the bus and let these kids have a little match. Let everyone else get on the bus. It's the competition has ended. It's over with.
Let them play it out.
It's over.
But
then what if they win? You know, hey, I won a state championship doubles match, or I won a state championship singles match. My team didn't win, but I went out and I participated in it and I competed.
That's like saying a baseball game. Okay, the home team is winning, say 5-2. They just put the other team out in the top of the final inning, so the game's over. So, wait a minute. But why not? I'm the first guy up in the bottom line. I want to bat. Let me bat.
This is equivalent of playing 6 innings and then stopping the game when it's 3-0.
Very good point, Mike.
No, it's not. No, because the game wouldn't be over then.
Let me ask you something.
The game wouldn't be over then.
Let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
If the sport is football and it's a state championship game and the score is 42-0 at the end of the third quarter, would you be okay if they stopped the game right there?
No.
Why?
Because it's not over. The game is not over.
Okay.
Obviously,
how much money would you put on the team losing and come back and win?
Oh, zero, obviously. But mathematically, the game is not over yet.
But you're giving
in this situation, mathematically, the match is over with. There is
no way. Let's say a team is up 65-0 after 3 quarters.
I don't know what the score is. Well, the mercy clock would be invoked anyway, so it doesn't make any difference.
They would still get to play. These kids have earned the
Hopefully
right.
younger kids will get to play.
These kids have earned the right to play in a state championship match. And some of these kids are coming back in the doubles and singles tournament, which is being held this weekend out in Hershey. But other ones are. What if you're a senior and this is it for you?
Yeah,
you thought you were going to play in the state championship match and you're done.
Sorry, you can't play now.
So you're going to run them out there just so they're feeling don't get hurt and run them out there and play a match. That means absolutely nothing because the match is over.
You run them out there to play a match because they earned the right to be there.
But it's over with. I mean, the match wouldn't mean anything. The match, the competition, the competition is over.
John, here's another one.
It means something to them.
I'm going to bring up one more sport. A golfer. You go out to the state championship in golf and you shoot 105. You're still golfing that second day, and you're not going to win. You're not going to shoot a 55 in the second round.
But you're advocating okay to have a cut.
But if you chose not to go out that second day. Which you can do. You can withdraw. I mean, that's your option. No one's forced you to go out there and play.
But they're not giving these kids the option. That's the thing.
Yeah, there's no harm in
they said you're not playing.
So what if you lose 4-1
3-2? Bad news bears. Let them play. Let them play.
You guys are making a mountain out of molehill here. You really are. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't have a problem with it being the other way. I really wouldn't. But like I said, the question was, do I have a problem with them stopping it? And I honestly don't have a problem with stopping it.
If there's no issue,
I wouldn't have a problem. But I wouldn't have a problem with them playing it either. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Then if there's no problem letting them play, why not just let them play?
Well, go ahead. I mean, if you go ahead. What I'm saying is,
it doesn't hurt anything.
The question that we were asked was, do we have a problem with them stopping it? And I don't, given the circumstances. That's all I'm saying.
I do. I think that's a foolish move. I think it's a terrible move by the state. I think they're basically depriving, like I said, at least 2 doubles or 2 singles. I don't know how they structure it.
This is the
having a chance to compete in a state championship.
I did not talk to Nancy Conlon for this, so I mean maybe she's for it. Obviously, to play a match after the team outcome has been decided, both coaches have to be up for it. Both coaches have to say, yeah, go ahead and play. But I just think if you earn the right to be there, you should be able to play. For some of these kids, this was it for them.
You also mentioned some of these kids that may have individual state competition down the road. What if they played this match and one of them got hurt?
John, you're the big one. You're the big one that you don't worry about players getting hurt. You say that all the time.
I don't worry about it. You're right, and I'm not backing down from that. But I'm just throwing it out as one reason why they may decide. You know what? The match is over with. It's over.
Well, that's another issue.
Why
is the team before the individual? It should be the other way around. The team should be the last thing.
This is because this is the team tournament. This is the team.
Yeah.
This is not.
It should be the other way around. Oh,
You know,
shoot.
switch the tournaments.
what's
The team should be the last.
Make the singles and doubles first before the team.
Oh,
That's what it should be.
John's going to draft a letter to the PIAA.
That'd
He's going to
be
send it
fine.
out. I'll sign it. And my name's going to be as big as John Hancock on that thing.
That'd be fine. That'd be fine as well.
And I think it's like 6:30. we were on here for 2.5 hours. Thank you for joining us, and join us next week when I'm sure there's
Seems
going to
like
be
it.
a lot more arguments. Mike's back in the hot seat next week.
Yes, I am.
Enjoy the playoffs.